Seth Manfield on your right, Caleb Scherer on your left. Both these players 8-2. Caleb, the big number 1 next to his name, leading the SCG Tour leaderboard as he has for most of the year. Caleb will start things off here with a Spire Bluff Canal and a copy of Serum Visions. Draw 1, scry 2. We'll see where Caleb wants to put these cards.
Some interesting elements here to Scherer's list. I've seen these from him in the past, but, still noteworthy. I made a copy of Empty the Warrens.
Okay.
And Unsubstantiate and a Repeal.
Yep, seen those before, too.
Just, those cards are okay on their own and also cover you in some, gets you out of some backdoor spots. It can be challenging otherwise. Maiden deck Remand.
Well, it's time to put them to the test. Goblin Electromancer's on the battlefield. Seth's deck has tons of removal, obviously. Path to Exile, Bolts, Helixes. There's the red mana. Got to kill that thing. Bolts will take care of it for Seth. So we head back over to Caleb. Had Seth not had anything, he may have died there, but he did have the removal spell for the Electromancer. Here's a sleight of hand. Caleb will take a look at the top 2 cards. One will go in the hand. The other will go on the bottom of the deck as he'll consult the grip right now.
To Seth's credit, I think that he has at times struggled with pace of play. To get through 10 rounds here without a draw is a good sign for how fast he's moving and his experience level with the deck.
Yep. It'll be another copy of Spire Bluff Canal, and Caleb will pass the turn back over to Seth. Any remands for Caleb this weekend?
One copy.
All right. An island there for Seth. He'll pass the turn back over to Caleb. Caleb with another snow-covered island and simply passing the turn back. Enough mana for Gifts Ungiven if you'd like to cast it. Of course, Seth does have Counter Magic in his deck, Logic Knots, and Cryptic Commands. Here is Bzz, Electrolyze.
This comes with some risk. The shields are down here for Scherer to resolve a Gifts Ungiven if he has it.
But no gifts here for Caleb, so we head back over to Seth, safely untapping after that Electrolyze.
Wouldn't surprise me if Seth's hand is a little light on mana if he was willing to risk tapping out there to cycle the Electrolyze.
Colonnade, pass the turn back. And Caleb will just draw a card. It'll be a Steam Vents tapped, and Caleb will pass the turn back over to Manfield. See if Manfield has an end of turn effect or not.
Well, if he was willing to risk tapping out last turn, really nothing's changed there to make it reasonable again, should he have another Electrolyze. He also may be considering Snap Bolt and trying to get some pressure on.
Get a little clock going. Looks like he's going to do nothing right now. Hallowed Fountain's going to enter the battlefield untapped. Seth will fall down to 18. He'll pass the turn back. Again, no end of turn effects there for Caleb, so he'll just draw. And pass. Snapcaster Mage, you mentioned it. All right, we'll see if the target will be Electrolyze or Lightning Bolt. And it's going to be Electrolyze, so Seth would like to get a little deeper into the deck here. This will be a remand on the Electrolyze. Now, of course, when you are flashing it back, it doesn't go back to your hand. It'll be exiled. So Caleb will cleanly take care of the Electrolyze and draw a card from the remand. And now, here's an attack for 2. Sacred Foundry taps. And we'll head over to Caleb. Spire Bluff Canal will enter the battlefield tap there for our Storm player. And now we're heading back over to Manfield. So Caleb having some difficulty getting it started, but at the same time, doesn't need to do a lot because he's not underneath that much pressure. At least not yet.
Yeah, I mean, it gets so his hands. At this point, you're trying to sort of piece together what could be in his hand. If he had a bunch of cantrips, he would have been casting those. Yeah, Gifts Ungiven, he's had windows to land that one as well. Suggests that his hand is really long on mana, either lands or rituals.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the win conditions, your grape shots, and your empty of the warrens of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, empty, I think you would have probably seen at least some small play for that card at this point.
Hieroglyphic Elimination here from Seth Manfield. This is your 4-mana draw to your Inspiration that cycles, a card that many did not expect to see play in Modern, but I think a worthy inclusion into these Jeskai control decks.
I mean, this is kind of the spot, right? You're sitting on Cryptic Command, one assumes your opponent's not cooperating, and it's an opportunity to pull ahead.
Going back to Manfield. Attack for 2. It'll be an island. And now this will be a repeal. Oh, boy.
You know, not the ideal repeal target, but
not the easiest way to do it.
It's not like Manfield's going to put a hold on the battlefield for you to repeal.
No,
so.
He's not.
And there's no counter spell in the graveyard, so.
So repeal will temporarily take care of the Snapcaster Mage, as Supreme Verdict is the discard here for Seth Manfield. We'll head back over to Caleb now. Can he get anything going? We haven't seen gifts. We haven't seen rituals. You have to note, if you're Caleb right now, you have to think to yourself, okay, I'm at 9. I know it says 12, but I'm at a virtual 9 right now because the Snapcaster Mage is almost certainly going to bring back a Bolt. And almost certainly now because Baral, Chief of Compliance, is here. As Seth is going to weigh his options now that Baral is on the battlefield. Here's a Desperate Ritual. Manfield going to go reaching for some mana. A single red implies a Lightning Bolt, and that'll target Baral here. Looks like we may see a response once again here from Caleb. As you see, these players are going to start to sort out the stack. Caleb would like to play another ritual on the cheap. So this is him going for it, folks.
Now we'll see exactly how much in the way of counterspell has Manfield accrued over these turns.
Again, keep in mind, Seth not playing a ton of counter magic in his main deck. More than I actually gave it credit for at the beginning of the match, so I do apologize. 3 Cryptics, 2 Logic Knots, a main deck Negate, and a main deck Mana Leak. So more counter magic than I initially realized. So Caleb going to do a little bit of opting. You see the storm count of 5, the 3 red mana floating. Now Baral will bite the dust. Desperate Ritual still on the stack. Desperate Ritual is going to resolve. Caleb is going to go up to 6 red mana. He's going to play a Goblin Electromancer. Storm count of 6. Always difficult to play against Storm. It makes you wonder how seasoned Seth Manfield is at doing this with Jeskai control.
Also, if he hasn't found a counterspell, it kind of doesn't matter. And to go back a little bit earlier, that cycling of Electrolyze suggests to me, that when we go back to turn 4 or whatever, that Seth might not have had any sort of interaction and was searching for it and was willing to risk Scherer landing a Gifts Ungiven.
This will be a grape shot for 7. final card. Not the final one, actually. I take that back. That is empty. Which is not particularly threatening right now.
Well, I think the hope here, I think Scherer's last card is Past in Flames. If he can bait Manfield into going, okay, I guess I'll untap and Snapcaster the Supreme Verdict, that might be a window just to win the game.
Yep. And I actually think that's the plan here, because if the plan is Snap plus Verdict, I think that Seth can handle that, or excuse me, Caleb can kind of come back from that pretty easily.
Assuming the last card is Past in Flames, which I believe is the case.
I agree. But these goblins are lethal. So Seth has to take care of them. And he doesn't have a simple, clean answer like an Engineer Explosives for 0.
And there's only one Supreme Verdict in the deck, too.
Now, he does have a copy of Settle the Wreckage, of course. We mentioned that. But the one Verdict, as you mentioned, is in the graveyard.
We'll see now if Seth has drawn. He's got his Logic Knots and a Mana Leak.
And the Negate.
And a Negate.
Yeah.
But that's it.
More outs than it appears, truth be told. Looks like a Desperate Ritual and a Past in Flames here.
No, I think it might just be 2 Past in Flames.
No, the artwork is similar on the two. I won't try to speculate too much. And by desperate, I apologize. I meant Pyretic, because there's a Logic Knot.
Scherer is playing 2 Past in Flames, which would be really quite excellent for him, because he might just be able to brute force his way through this.
Looks like the Logic Knot's going to be for 4. Seth wants to make it for 5. He wants to make it for 4.
He doesn't want to get punked out by a Ritual in Response, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. All right, Manfield draw. Maybe a little cantripping. Making Serum Visions. Yeah. Now Scry 2. Vendilion Click. Oof. A fast concession here from Caleb Scherer. He's out of here. Seth Manfield going to win game number 1 over Caleb Scherer. Jeskai Control up a game over Storm. A little surprised to see the concession there.
I don't know. I mean, time is an issue here.
I guess we assume the Past in Flames in the graveyard no good?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
If you don't think it's going to get you where you're trying to go, then fair enough.
You want to spend another 8 minutes there getting attacked by Vendilion Click and get to game 2 at 25 minutes? I don't know. I think it's fine to let it go there.
Well, that's exactly what Caleb did. Seth Manfield currently up a game as we turn our attention to Caleb's sideboard. 3 pieces of the puzzle, 2 Abrades, 2 Lightning Bolts, 2 Empty the Warrens. 6 1-ups, folks. Flame Slash, Giga Drowse, Spell Pierce, Echoing Truth, Dismember, and Wipe Away.
So I'm not a huge fan of going to Empty the Warrens against Storm. There's against Jeskai Control. Just the blend of sweepers and engineered explosives makes it pretty tough. I like the pieces of the puzzle in this matchup because it's slower and sure needs to accrue a lot of stuff. I don't mind the Echoing Truth as sort of a catch-all to sideboard cards, but I wouldn't want to go any deeper on the Empty the Warrens.
Other side of things. 3 Rest in Peace, 2 Dispel, 2 Stony Silence, here come your one-ofs. Ceremonious Rejection, Negate. Disdainful Stroke, Celestial Purge, Baneslayer Angel, Geist of St. Traft, Anger of the Gods, and a Braid.
Really like the Geist, the Negate, the 3 copies of Rest in Peace, and the 2 Dispels.
Pretty straightforward.
I like the Disdainful Stroke, too. Gets Past in Flames and Gifts, 2 of the most important cards.
Yeah, Disdainful Stroke's nice here.
Yeah.
That's a nice card here. Well, those are your options there for both players. Getting ready to watch game number 2 between two great ones here in Caleb Scherer, number 1 on the SCG Tour leaderboard, and Hall of Famer Seth Manfield, both checking in at 8-2, very much in top 8 contention. For now, we turn our attention towards, of course, SCG Game Night, the very popular promotion that we've been bringing you for years. The month of December is pretty sweet, and then we got some changes coming in 2019.
Yep, and you get over to go.starcitygames.com/game night to find more information about Game Night and find the Game Night closest to you. December kit right in front of you here, Bramble Hopper Elite, and then changes coming in 2019. Instead of the pins, we will be giving out sleeves. And we got the January kit here, Perdukin, and then in February, Yeti Steady Go. Over at go.starcitygames.com/game night, find out more information in stores. If you want to get signed up for Game Night, get these kits sent to your store in 2019, contact your Star City Games in-store play representative.
Game number 2 about to be underway. Should be a fun one here between Caleb Scherer and Seth Manfield. Storm versus Jeskai Control. Caleb continues to be the Storm pilot here on the SCG Tour with tons of success, pardon me. For Seth Manfield, a little bit different. I think Seth is known to mix it up a little bit, but kind of going in lockstep with his buddy Brad, though their lists are a little bit different.
Yeah, Seth's definitely straying off the path a little bit here. A lot of the fundamental parts are the same. A lot of copies of Electrolyze, but Seth with more sort of 1 and 2 ofs among the spells. And I think Brad's list is a little bit more structured, more 3s and 4s.
Do keep in mind, over the course of the day, we will be busy talking about SCGCon that takes place next weekend, December 7th through the 9th, at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia. We're hoping to see each and every single one of you there. We'll also be talking about the metagame breakdown that Nick Miller's working on. We had a little over 140 players make day 2 of competition, so he's got a lot of deck lists to work himself through.
Mm-hmm. Gonna be a little bit, but he'll get through it.
It's also Nick Miller's birthday today, so we got to celebrate that at some point. Maybe bring Nick into the booth for a round.
Yeah.
See what we can do there.
Sure.
And what else we got? I guess more Magic. You get to decide the quarterfinals at home when we get to that point. Should be good stuff all day long.
You as in the sort of collective you.
Yes. Not actual you. Seth going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn. Himself a Steam Vents untapped. Maybe we'll see one of those 2 copies of Serum Visions here. Everyone's least favorite cantrip.
Yeah, it's not powerful enough, which is why every deck that can cast it plays 4. I guess Seth's excluded from that.
All right, let's go over to Caleb. It'll be an island, and we're going back over to Seth. Hallowed Fountain tapped. And we go back to Caleb.
Be a good spot for sideboarded pieces of the puzzle.
A card that he is known for playing. Seen this sideboard plan so many different times, bringing in pieces of the puzzle, picking up 2 cards to help him get closer to Storm, but no pieces of the puzzle there on turn 3. So we head back over to Seth Manfield. It'll be an island. And simply a passing of the turn. These players go back and forth very slowly here in round number 11. But we saw that one big turn, right? That's what this matchup's kind of all about.
Yep.
Both players kind of trying to build towards something. Then there's one big turn. Seth had enough ways to interact appropriately, didn't die. As here's an Electrolyze once again.
So you had to imagine here that this is the chance for. Wow, I would have assumed that Scherer would have had a Gifts to land there as he played the Steam Vents untapped. Maybe that was a bluff to sort of paralyze Manfield there into not cycling an Electrolyze. I'm not sure.
Well, Seth didn't fall for that one. Or he didn't care.
No, didn't care.
Colonnade tapped. There's Gifts. All right, well, this makes some sense to me because what this is Caleb trying to run this into a counterspell probably. That taps Seth's resources down low, and then maybe he tries to kill him next turn.
I guess. I don't know what's to be gained by trying to bluff that way here.
Well, you don't care about the 2 life.
No, I'm saying why not resolve the Gifts on your own turn when Seth is tapped out?
Because he might be trying to run it into a counterspell and then killing him.
Right, and I'm saying that Seth is really good, and you're just spewing information doing it that way. Like, Seth's picked up on what the last 2 turns were.
Okay, so Seth casts Electrolyze, right? And you could resolve Gifts?
Yep.
And so you don't. You try to cast Gifts now. It gets countered, you kill him. And if it doesn't get countered, it resolves. What's the difference?
Seth now has the information that Scherer already has it rolled up and can play accordingly.
Okay, sure.
That's what I'm talking about when I say the spew. If you gifts on your own turn, then Seth can't deduce one way or the other what's happening. It just looks like you have a window to resolve gifts and you're going to do it. When you do it this suspiciously, Seth now has a load of information to work with about what the nature of your hand is.
Sure, he can put you on a range of things that are in your hand now. If you resolve the gifts when he's tapped out, like
it's just whatever.
He knows you have it rolled up either way. If you resolve the gifts, you have it rolled up. If you don't resolve the gifts, you have it rolled up.
No, what I'm saying is that now Seth has reason to believe he has it rolled up absent of the cards he just gave him. Because the only reason to go end of your turn, gifts ungiven, is if you're thrilled if he taps out.
Okay.
If you do it on your own turn, maybe you have it rolled up, maybe you don't, but it's not suspicious.
Sure. Well, here's Baral. And here is a Pyretic Ritual.
And Scherer wasn't at risk of discarding the hand size, right? Because he's on the play this game and didn't do anything?
Yeah, no.
So he goes up to 7 cards if he does it on his own turn?
This will be a Manamorphose. In response to the bolt that's on Pyretic Ritual. Which means that the Manamorphose is attempting to generate some mana.
And I don't mind trying to do a little rope-a-dope stuff when you're playing against, let's say, not the best player in the world. But when you're playing against perhaps the best player in the world, I try to keep it a little tighter.
Sure. One red, one blue. Storm count of Baral, Pyretic, Manamorphose. Bolt is 4. Doesn't look like Caleb has too much going on in his hand from what I can gather.
Looks like a bunch of cantrips that he can't deploy at instant speed.
Yeah. Looks like Baral's going to bite the dust to the bolt. Pyretic Ritual's going to resolve up to 4 red. 4 red and a blue. Serum Visions, Storm count of 5.
Yeah, Caleb really needs to find a Manamorphose to flip some of this red into blue to be able to cantrip and keep going.
Looks like one on top, one on bottom from the scry. And that'll be Caleb's turn. So only used 1 ritual there and then lost an enabler in Baral. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, but against a deck with this much in the way of counterspells and interaction, Caleb only gets so many bites at the apple. Even losing a ritual and an enabler is a cost because he probably needs every piece of it to be able to eventually go off.
We're on Seth's turn now. Steam Vent's untapped. Well, it's telling. Here's Teferi. 2 lands will be untapped here in just a moment. I mean, this is a huge power play by Seth because if he makes it through the next turn, if he makes it this turn, he's got to be feeling great about things.
And Scherer's hand, for all the cards in it, I think Seth has reasonably deduced it must be a little soft or loaded with cantrips. Because Scherer had a lot of mana floating when his Baral finally died and still couldn't really do anything with it.
Yep.
So you think that Scherer's going to basically spend his turn spinning his tires, maybe try to go off again, maybe not, but on a hand that's light on rituals, one negate, maybe even one bolt might be enough to cover you, and then you run away with the game.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me too here. If he does have just one counterspell, as you mentioned, he's able to negate a Desperate Ritual, right? And then, okay,
right.
You can't go anywhere.
It would suggest, by the way that last turn went down, that Scherer would not be able to keep going.
So now Teferi is on the battlefield. Seth correctly deducing exactly what's going on in Caleb's hand. Wouldn't expect anything less from such a great player.
When your opponent stops doing anything in that spot with a bunch of red in their pool and no blue and a 6 or 7 card hand, it's probably a bunch of ops and Serum Visions.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Manfield got to last turn, willing to take the risk on Teferi. It's definitely not no risk. Some amount of the time there, you are going to get killed by tapping out or tapping low. But I think Manfield deduced that it was a pretty good spot to go for it, and now we're here.
Search for Iskanta. And 2 lands on to the trigger there from Teferi. Wipe away. Interesting. Gets Caleb out from underneath that annoying Planeswalker.
Although it's weird because the Planeswalker doesn't really represent, it's an extra card or whatever, but it's not like it's threatening his ability to go off.
I guess it's like an extra card, and if Seth wants to redeploy it,
right? It's the commit.
It's a lot of resource. It's a lot of resources.
Right. It's the commitment of 5 mana.
Yeah. Sleight of hand. Looks like it's going to be an opt that was selected. Going to be a ritual instead. Looked like it was Pyretic. Shivan Reef is the land for the turn. And Caleb will just pass the turn back again. So he took that opportunity to get Teferi off the battlefield with Wipe Away, and now I think we're going to see a Snapcaster Mage. Yep. And Seth's going to target Electrolyze again. We saw this in the first game. Seth putting a huge priority on not so much the damage he can deal, because he can deal another point of damage with Lightning Bolt, obviously, but getting deeper into his deck, building up a hand that is potentially unbeatable.
Yeah, he has a finite number of relevant cards. Each one of them that he draws is a huge shift in the advantage in the match, so worth prioritizing, just getting him as many looks at it as possible.
Yep. In with Snapcaster Mage is going to bring Caleb down to 12. Things certainly favorable right now for Seth Manfield. It'll be a Sulphur Falls, and he'll pass the turn.
Interestingly, not willing to redeploy the Teferi. I mean, at this point, Scheer's got a full hand and a lot of lands. Manfield's got to respect the ability of Scherer to go off through one, maybe even two pieces of disruption.
Looks like it's going to be a copy of Pieces to the Puzzle. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put up to 2 instant and/or sorcery cards from among them into your hand and the rest into the graveyard. So we're going to reveal some cards here. Grape Shot among them. There's a Baral and an Opt. I believe the first card revealed there was actually a copy of Gifts Ungiven. I take it back. It's a Remand. So Remand and Grape Shot, which actually work well with one another.
Remand's also nice for Scherer to be able to punch through something significant.
Yep. And this also almost certainly turns off the idea of ever casting Teferi again when you have to contend with a Remand. Another Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, even if you could win the counter war over it, it would be such a commitment of mana. Too dangerous in this spot.
And that's what makes this game that was played by Seth so well done is he picked the perfect spot for Teferi, reading the game correctly, got it on the battlefield, and it's the kind of card that it generates such an overwhelming advantage that Caleb has to take it seriously, had to use a wipe away on it. It's gone now, which is accurate, but Seth doesn't need it anymore.
Right.
That Lightning Bolt going upstairs on the end step via Snapcaster Mage.
I mean, Scherer would really like to clutch this Remand to win a major battle here, but if he lets this Bolt resolve, he might not get another turn.
Yep. That's the scary thing in this spot, because I think we might see Seth deploy another Snapcaster Mage, but it's going to be a Lightning Helix instead, and that's going to do it. Seth Manfield's going to win this match over Caleb Scherer, 2-0. Jeskai Control making it look easy here over Storm. He's one of the best players in the world as the player on the right, winning that match there over Caleb Scherer. Pretty easy.
A really